reflects the ideas of B.F. Skinner. Dr. Schaefer says that this is the most pervasive teaching, training technique of the 20th century. He says that when you use this approach, you say that man basically is accepted as a machine and is treated as a machine. This approach has grown in popularity recently. Children that use this approach usually score higher on computational skills on standardized tests. Of course, the third approach, the T, stands for textbook. It's the most commonly used approach. And this particular approach, of course, starts with colorful pictures and gives demonstrations or explanations followed by repetition. Again, the focus of the textbook approach, much like the automated approach, is the memorization of skills. And as you would expect, typically the child will score higher in computational skills in this particular area. Making math meaningful is based upon the belief that man is not a machine to be programmed, nor an animal to be conditioned. But rather, making math meaningful believes that we are created in the image of God. Dr. Schaefer makes an interesting comment in Escape from Reason, an educational comment. He says, today, we have a weakness in our educational process in failing to understand the natural associations between the disciplines. We tend to study all of our disciplines as unrelated parallel lines. He says this is true both in Christian and secular education. This is one of the reasons he says that evangelical Christians have been taken by surprise at the tremendous shift that has taken place in our generation. He says we've studied our theology as theology, our philosophy as philosophy. We study our art as art. We study our music as music, without understanding that these things are of man, and things of man are never unrelated parallel lines. Tonight, I'd like to introduce you to a brand new program that I'm currently writing. It's a comprehensive interdisciplinary approach, a worldview approach for high school studies. It should be available in 1996. It's called Worldviews of the Western World. It's a 3-year study. Year 1, we're comparing and contrasting the Greco-Roman worldview with the Judeo-Christian worldview. Year 2 moves to the Renaissance, and we compare the thoughts and ideas of the Renaissance with those of the Reformation. In the 3rd year of the study, we'll look at the theistic worldview of the Bible and contrast that with the naturalistic worldview of modern man. In this study, we will look at 7 interrelated topics: philosophy and theology, art, music, literature, science, government, and economics. We're going to place a special emphasis upon the teachings of Dr. Francis Schaefer. You know, the materials that we've been developing since 1984 at the Cornerstone Curriculum Project are specifically written and designed to prepare children to enter into the 21st century with their lives based upon the biblical worldview. The psalmist asked, if the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous do? What a penetrating question. Several years ago, Blaine and I had the opportunity to attend a homeschool convention in Minnesota. And during our free time, we went to St. Anthony Falls. And you see, this is the northernmost point of navigation on the Mississippi River. And it was interesting because there were several plaques, and they talked about how that the Mississippi River was eroding the bedrock at that particular location and was creating falls. And so ships were not able to go in and out of the area. And then this one plaque was given as a dedication to the Corps of Engineers, because what they did, you see, is they diverted the river, and then they laid a solid concrete base. And now, of course, the waters flow, no rapids, and the boats are able to go in and out of the area. And I thought, you know, that's exactly what God has called us to do as parents. He wants us to lay a solid biblical foundation for our children, so that they'll be able to navigate in and out of life on the biblical worldview. That they'll be able to stand independent of the current thoughts and ideas of our culture. That they'll be the city set on a hill. That they'll be a lamp. That they'll be the map for the 21st century. You know, that's what we do. That's what the righteous do when the foundations are destroyed. I'm currently writing a book called Let Us Highly Resolve. And it's a call to courage and determination as we prepare to enter into the 21st century. I believe it's imperative as parents we must consciously be preparing the next generation. That's our children. To base and live their lives upon the biblical worldview. You know, the word to resolve means to loosen or to untie. We must loosen and untie ourselves from the many things that hide us, that hold us, that distract us, that hold our attention in order to free us to accomplish the things that God has called us to do. By fixing our thoughts upon those essential ideas, we can chart a path, we can set a course for ourselves and for our children as we enter into the 21st century. Therefore, let us highly resolve to build our families upon the biblical worldview. In closing, I'd like to read a passage from Jean Stratton Porter. She says, when I think of the life that we are leading, of the uses to which we have put the bounty provided for us by the Almighty, when I think of the greed and the lust and the selfishness that is crowding everything that is high and holy and delicate, that is kind and loving and considerate of our fellow men from our hearts, she says, I wish that I might attain to some high peak from which my voice could reach to the ends of the earth. And there I might cry out to the men and women of my generation, to the men and women who are the mothers and fathers, and to the children that our children are rearing. I wish that I might cry out, let us highly resolve to do everything in our day and location permits to actually put into practice the teachings of Jesus Christ. And may our loving Heavenly Father grant this request to our generation and the generation of our children as they enter into the 21st century. Thank you very, very much, and I hope that you have benefited from this time together.